You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you. See you, see you.
A new year means it's time for a new home network that can keep up. With Cox Internet, you have the speed and coverage your family needs to stay connected. You'll enjoy Cox's fiber-based hybrid network with options for fast upload and download speeds. And if your household has lots of connected devices, Panoramic Wi-Fi may be the perfect fit thanks to its additional control features. Plus, with advanced security on Panoramic Wi-Fi, you'll know each connected device is securely protected 24/7. A whole world of connectivity is yours with Cox Internet. Learn more at Cox.com.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Technical difficulties, one moment, please.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am Aggie, and with me tonight is our awesome producer and the co-host, Rick. How are you doing this evening?
Doing all right. Sorry for the delay. I realized your intro was in my other pants.
Okay. It's never a dull moment. Never
Anyway,
a dull moment.
So yeah, I'm the awesome producer, Rick, who can't do his job and sounds like I just smoked a carton of Marley's. X-Files reference, you gotta drink.
Whatever gets you through the day, be it coffee or alcohol. That's what we used to say when I was working.
Yeah, I snuck in an X-Files reference for old school folks.
Yes. I got it.
Oh, I know. I was just reminding the chat that we have rules. Stargate and X-Files references require drinking.
Yeah, it's true. as I'm reaching for my drink right now.
Which reminds me, this weekend I really need to get those two things worked up because I still want to do like one with the X-Files theme with the airplane dude, and then the Stargate theme with the airplane dude. Looks like I picked the wrong day to quit drinking. But the reason I haven't done it yet is I'm looking for a very specific sound effect to end it with because I want somebody yelling shots, shots, shots as it fades down. And I haven't been able to find a decent one of that yet. And since I don't have a voice right now, I can't really record it on my own.
Got it.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm still working on it. It's just, there's a million different projects, a million different things going on. But yeah, speaking of a million different things going on, I'm working on a story that is probably going to make a lot of people sad. But for those of you who know, a certain mutual follower of ours kind of let the cat out of the bag that I honestly had missed, I guess, about her son dying primarily because of COVID complications, and that's the reason why.
Yes.
And honestly, I didn't know because I was like, dude, she is like rabidly against Trump, and then I saw that today, and I'm like, I feel so bad.
Tams has been a mutual for years, and she always shared her family with us online, and she's also a friend on another social media site. And she suffered a horrific tragedy with the loss of her son during COVID, and it, in hindsight, it could have been prevented. There were so many things that were not allowed, and so she has done a lot of research. She has done a lot of research on how this came about, on what wasn't done, what was avoided, what was prevented, specifically on what was prevented. So she is very rabidly anti-Trump this time around. And this is coming from somebody who did support him the first time around. So, but she is in that camp because of what happened. She does have skin in the game. So I always, every time the subject comes up, and she has the receipts, she has done her due diligence. So it was rough, but she tried to keep it as low-key as possible, because she didn't want to tarnish his memory, and she didn't want it to seem like she was digging for attention. So she kept it quiet for a very long time. But it was a devastating tragedy.
But yeah, so I saw that today, and then I reached out, and I was like, look, I already know that I'm not going to be able to put it up on the main sites that I write for, because anytime I try to approach them with anything that is pretty much in the negative slant with Trump, they both say no. And I'm not, before anybody says anything, I'm not downing the leadership at either one of those sites. They know where their money comes from, and I understand why they're saying what they're saying. One of them is like a sister, so trust me, I'm not downing anybody. The other one is basically, we've worked together in between her and him. We've worked together for 12 years. So I'm not disparaging anybody. I just, from being, doing this and being able to say what I want to say whenever I want to say it, the first time they were like, no, we can't do that. I was like, okay, fine, I'll start a Substack. And that's what I told her. I said, I know I can't put it out anywhere other than my blog. And then I told Jen that I had reached out, and she's like, well, you can put it on Misfits. I'm like, cool, I'll do that first then. So we started hammering things out. She's going to email me all the research and everything that she's done so I can actually do an in-depth piece. And then she's even agreed to do the rounds and start doing podcasts about it. And I said, look, I have people in radio and in media that are actually friends of mine. So I really want to get this out because she has skin in the game, and she's still basically in the same place that I am because, I said it last night. I'm pissed off at Tucker Carlson. I'm pissed off at Sean Hannity. I'm pissed off at everybody that I looked up to when I was first starting to do this years ago, who won't even look at him and say, you pinned a medal on the guy that just admitted that the whole fucking thing was a sham. So please explain, because America has questions. Nobody's asking. Nobody's asking him. And I'm not even necessarily faulting him for it to a point, because we hadn't been through anything like that in over 100 years, and I get that. He was fairly new to the politics game, so I don't think he realized exactly how shady everything is, and that's their excuse as to how he's going to do so much better this time because he knows what he's up against. No, he's not. That's just me. But he still, he told us, and I've said this on every show I've done lately, he told us, I am stepping in front of them because they are coming after you. Let them come after me instead. And if I find out they're trying to do it again, I'm going to tell you how they were trying to do it, make sure it doesn't happen, and then fix it so it can't happen again. He didn't do that. Because if we're just now finding out because the behind closed doors super secret testimony is being released bit by bit, so far we have Fauci admitting that the lab leak is likely not a conspiracy theory. Yes, he put the word likely in there because he still doesn't want to admit that he's culpable. Which means, because we now know this, the NIH was involved in the Wuhan studies, if nothing else, at least financially, because they were they were helping do it over there because it's not illegal there. They even changed the definition of gain of function study here, as far as the NIH was concerned, to make it quasi-legal here, which is how they managed to get the virus into the country in 2019, before anybody even knew what it was. So, and then Trump listens to whoever told him, well, Dr. Fauci's the best guy in the country. He runs our NIH. Put him in charge. I get it. He was the guy. He was the top medical guy in the country at that point, other than the Surgeon General, which is pretty much worthless anyway. Sorry, Ben. Just being honest. Wait, was he? No, he wasn't. Didn't they put him in the charge of like housing or something, which I thought was weird because he was like, he's like a surgeon, and I'm like, why isn't he anyway? But yeah, whoever the hell the Surgeon General was. Fauci was basically the top guy medically in the country. And like I said, it took 4 years for us to get the truth, officially, or even semi-officially, even though a lot of us knew the whole time. And still to this day, Trump is still touting the damn vaccines that Fauci admitted we didn't honestly need in the first place. He's like, oh yeah, herd immunity would have worked. Well, no shit. That's how the human race has survived for millennia.
It was acceptable to have herd immunity until COVID. Then it didn't work. And I'm like, boy, doesn't it work? Nobody could tell you.
Well, here's the delicious part. They're like, well, it won't work, and you have to trust the science. The problem is the same people that were telling you to trust the science were telling you that you need to wear a mask. The guy in charge of the science behind closed doors was telling everybody masks don't work because the holes in the mask are larger than the virus molecules. So it was basically just a placebo, and he knows it. And the government spent hundreds of millions of dollars supplying people with placebo. If you're going to do that, look, and I'm not condoning this, but if you're going to do that, fucking sugar pills would have been cheaper. Put a fancy name on it and ship them sugar pills. Same thing. You would have saved us billions of dollars. If you're going to do a fucking placebo that doesn't do any good anyway, find the cheapest one, for one. For two, why are you fucking lying to us, dude? Why? And again, the guy who said he was stepping in front of the bullets for us, and I said this today, and then I'm going to shut up because that's not what this show's about, may have charged into DC like G.I. Joe, but he came out Swamp Thing. And that's where I am, and that's why... I mean, I've said it. If he gets the nominee, I don't feel like if he becomes the nominee, I feel like I don't have a choice but to vote for him. But I'm done begrudging the people that don't want to, because I have a feeling a lot of the people that are as rabid as she is about it are dealing with the same thing. And I came close to that. I have a really good friend who has had some really serious health issues because her mom was considered at risk. So her mom and her dad got the shots. Her dad actually passed away of a stroke 6 months later. And since then, she's had health and since then, the daughter, who is a year older than me, has had health complications. And I'm like, yep, that's it. I'm done. But again, if we're stuck choosing between two people that shouldn't be buying green bananas, I guess I'm going to pick the one that I at least knows how to run the economy. Because, which honestly, weirdly enough, kind of dovetails into one of our stories today. Despite what Joe Biden says about the economy, you kind of have an idea of how well the economy is doing right now if you've been paying attention to either Twitchy, the New York Post, because the entire Sports Illustrated staff has been warned that most are being laid off, and it may be all, because they missed a renewal payment for their licensing use for the name.
Yeah, it was it was kind of weird because you don't expect a payment like that to be missed when you have when you buy the license to a name such as Sports Illustrated, which has been established for decades, and it had obviously every year. It has always shown a profit. Everybody looked forward to one of their specific issues, which was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I remember in college that every single one of my male friends, even the gay ones, looked forward to this issue. And I mean,
Giggity,
it was
giggity goo. Stick around.
we would go. I mean, seriously, the MSC, the day that the issue was going to be put out in the magazine section of the bookstore, it had a line going outside, circling around, because mostly guys, there were some girls too, but mostly guys were waiting for that issue to come out so they could go buy it. It was like a rite of passage. Every time that thing came around, you as a male went out there and got it.
Well, I bet your gay friends probably bought the Chicks with Dicks edition too. Just saying.
Actually, like it's really funny because I have a very dear friend, the one that I joke around that he was my first kiss, and 2 weeks later he came out.
You mean
that guy?
You mean the guy you turned gay? That one?
Yes, that one. When that issue came out, he was very offended. And, and I asked him why he was offended. And he said, because this was to celebrate women. And a trans woman is not the same thing. And keep in mind, my friend is gay, but he also is a preacher, believe it or not. And so for him, that dichotomy of changing because you feel God made a mistake has really jarred with him. It really just doesn't jive very well. So the trans community for him has always been an issue. But for him, it was an affront because you had a man. It was almost as if they were saying it takes a man to be a better woman, to be a more beautiful woman. And that was to him offensive. And I'm like, yeah, I've actually said that to other people, and I've gotten blocked over it because, when Dylan Mulvaney got Woman of the Year for this other issue, some magazine or something, they had picked him as Woman of the Year. And I said, so you're admitting that it takes a man to be a better woman. And I got blocked for my efforts, which, hey, that's a win. As far as I'm concerned, that's a win. And so, but that was like the second time that they decided to do something that kind of went against the standards that they had set for decades. The first time was when they had a plus size model on the cover. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with plus size models. Esme is probably the most well-known plus size supermodel that there was, but the thing with her was everything was still in perfect, gosh, what's the word? I know the word and it's escaping me. I know it in German. I can't think of it. Proportion. Everything was in proportion. And that's why she was very successful. And she always, told women, yes, you can be plus size. You just have to remember that plus size doesn't mean overweight. There's a difference. But the girl that they picked, who is a plus size model, her proportions were completely wrong. And so people were not happy about that. Had it been, I bet you anything, had it been Esme on the cover, people would have been like, oh, wow, this woman is stunning. Even though Esme is older than I am, she's still very, very beautiful. And she is proportionate, even though she is a plus size woman. But this young woman that they picked really turned off a lot of people. She wore a monokini and it just didn't do anything for her figure. As a matter of fact, what it did was accentuate that which should not have been accentuated. And people were turned off by that. And I'm not taking anything away. She's actually a very pretty young woman. But the thing with that is that you're glorifying obesity when you do something like that. And this whole body positivity movement, on one hand, you're like, oh, there's no fat shaming, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, they're like telling you need to be a vegan. You need to, be healthier, stop eating McDonald's and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you can't have one and the other. You can't have them both. And so when they had that and the transgender female on the cover, people were just like, yeah, we're done here. This is completely not what the swimsuit issue is supposed to be about. There's like an understanding, a code that men have over what the swimsuit issue should be about.
Yeah.
And for 2 years in a row, they broke it.
Let me explain the man code when it comes to the swimsuit issue. No,
please do, because I don't know it.
No dicks and no fatties. That's the two rules.
Okay, for those in the chat who don't know what a monokini is, it's a bikini that's attached by a small amount of fabric in the front. So it looks like a one piece, but in truth, it's just two pieces attached by a small piece of fabric on the front.
It's kind of like the fat edition of the tuckini. It's just saying. I mean that's pretty much what it is.
So yeah, it was. So for me, the surprising part was that they didn't have the money to pay the licensing fee for that quarter, and I was like, why don't you have the money? Well, now we know.
So
it's the economy, stupid.
yeah, exactly. It's the. I honestly kind of wish I would have used that line in that article, and I didn't. I did, however, get to write in the tone of Patrick Stewart at the end of the article, which made me really, really happy.
Nice. So yeah, it has been a kind of that most people did not expect that to happen. So, and I'm all like, okay, well, it happened. Sorry.
Yeah. So, not that I'm trying to take away from the clicks that I'm hoping everybody's going to give this thing, but the very end of the article is first they came for our football and we did nothing. Then they came for a beer and it was light beer. So, again, we did nothing. Now they have come for our scantily clad swimsuit models. While this editor will not speak for everyone, we should shout with one collective voice, "This line must be drawn here, no further!" And then it has Patrick Stewart applauding underneath.
Nice. That's really nice. Oh man, it's just when the news came down, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just for real. How does this happen?
Well, first things first, and it's one of the reasons why I tried to take a lighter tone with it. And I say all throughout, I'm in a similar industry, so I understand exactly how they feel. But we are basically another line is we're in a really screwed up timeline, so you can either laugh or cry. And this editor will always choose cry or laugh, not cry. But yeah, it's just I don't know, dude. I saw that and I was like, holy crap! And like not 5 minutes ago, Biden was on the TV touting the economy again, and then New York Post is like, hey, and then I go to the Sports Illustrated Twitter page, and yeah, it's legit. They basically put the entire staff on notice. Some of you will be required to finish out the rest of your tenure. Those of you who can be let go now will receive pay commensurate to your union standard severance package. So yeah,
and that's another thing. The unions are going to have a field day with this one.
It's their own damn fault.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything unions touch eventually dies. And look, I am someone who does believe that unions once upon a time served a purpose. I'm not saying that they didn't. But it's just like everything that our government has ever tried to do that everybody wants to believe was with the best of intentions. I don't believe that anymore because I've been dissecting a lot of stuff lately. But that's all I ever heard is, well, the programs may not be working the way they meant them to, but you can't think that they wanted people to be stuck on food stamps for forever. Oh, really? Can't I? I can't? Are you sure? Because that's pretty much what's happening. I literally know people that have refused raises when we work together because it was going to impact their food stamps, and it was going to make it to where they were technically making less money when they lost the food stamps that they were eligible for because of their current pay rate with the number of people that they had in the house. So you tell me again that the social safety nets are not social spider webs, and again, not only that, but everything DEI touches. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, they could have just as easily said diversity, inclusion, and equity. They didn't for a reason, because that would have said the quiet part out loud.
Very true. Yeah, so the unions, like you said, there was a time when they were necessary. But the problem with having an organization is that for the express purpose of what the unions were supposed to do was, improve conditions, improve pay, improve all that. Once laws were passed where all of that was taken care of, since the unions didn't, there had to be more grievances.
Yeah,
so there's always a grievance section.
Well, and you're exactly right. That's the other part of it. So once there were minimum wage laws in place, once it was, you can only work somebody 40 hours a week, and if you're going to do more than that, you have to pay them more unless they're a contractor, those kind of things. Those are all the things unions used to do. So when the government started getting into unions' business, first of all, they probably got really pissed off. But second of all, it started doing away with their reason for existence. But just like every other bureaucracy, once it exists, it doesn't want to die.
It can't go. No, it's a parasite. It must keep feeding.
And and that's exactly what we've been watching throughout our government. And that's why today, when the story broke that new speaker, same as the old speaker, which funny, I haven't seen a single person, not even Matt Gaetz, has been like, we should fire this fucker. Where's he? You fired the last one for this. Where are you now?
I was going to say, because, this one didn't meet with the Freedom Caucus.
Oh, no.
At all.
He completely thumbed his nose at him. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even necessarily faulting him for that, because this is another thing that drives me crazy with the conservative movement. They think we should be able to fix everything within 1 4-year term, and it took us 113 years to get here. The other thing that I'm tired of having to explain to people is Republicans are primarily the reason why we're here. They were the ones that had the bright idea to take it to the states to try to shut up the Democrats about wanting a progressive income tax. They're like, fine, you want it so bad, we'll put it up to vote in the states as an amendment, because surely people won't be stupid enough to pass it, which was what they thought. And guess what? It passed.
It passed because
the Republicans did that. You know who put the final nail in the coffin as far as us being tied to the gold standard? Take a guess.
Mm-hmm. I don't have to guess. I know.
Yeah. Yet again, what was the letter behind his name?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I'm really tired of the Republicans are trying to save the country and the Democrats want to destroy it. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a giant thing called a uniparty that you must face immediately and realize that pretty much everybody, no matter what letter they have behind their name for the most part, all want the same thing. And if what happened in D.C. with the group again, Johnson won't do what McCarthy did. He'll stand for the people. Well, how you feel about that statement now? And again, I'm not necessarily faulting him because, again, our side is like, well, we have control of the House. That means they have to listen to us. No, it means we have control of 1/2 of 1/3 of the United States government, which doesn't amount to shit.
Everybody forgets that part.
You know whose fault it is that we only have control of 1/2 of 1/3 of the government?
Republicans.
Yeah, Donald Trump. He's the reason Georgia has Warnock.
I have
again.
I have a good friend. He tweets Gita Bushi. I don't know if anybody follows him and everything. He had a really long thread today about Trump. He is a Trump supporter, and everything. But he does do a lot of analyzing and about all of the candidates and everything. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I really don't have enough, but policy-wise. But my issue is that this is just me. I am Miss Marple. I just sit back in my little hollow and I just watch people. Okay. And everybody's thinking that, Trump should win again and blah, blah, blah. But what everybody forgets is the Trump that we had in 2016 is not the Trump that we're getting in 2024. And there are a lot of issues that people have to understand that come with this Trump that we didn't have with that Trump. Okay. And then you have the Ron DeSantis supporters, and then you have the ones that are detractors. And the one thing that I have noticed about this particular primary campaign season is that every single candidate took their eyes off of the true target. The target was not Trump. The target was not DeSantis. The target, as big as it was not Christie. The target has always been Biden, and everybody took their eyes off of that to attack each other. This is why it's such a big mess. Had they just left each other alone, attacked Biden with Biden's own flaws, own faults, own failures, this would have been a far easier primary season, and people would have been,
and it really,
I think, more. Huh?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but yeah, it really should have been, because the thing about it is, and first of all, it's not really anybody's fault that they couldn't get to Biden because Christie stood in front of him. Nobody could see him anymore. But the thing about it is, you're right, because when they started coming after Trump, because, well, he won't debate, and he's not doing this, and he's not doing that, all that did was put the people that are already feeling like he's part of a witch hunt. That basically made them fight for him that much harder. If they would have focused on not on Trump, but on Biden, and then DeSantis probably would have gotten a lot more traction, because he has better credentials than Trump. He has a track record on COVID that beats Trump. He's removed Soros-elected district attorneys from his state. He's fought DEI and everything else in Florida. So if he would have just focused on those things, and anytime anybody mentioned Donald Trump, I'd just been like, look, he's not here. He's a nominee just like I am. That's not who I want to talk about today. I want to talk about...
That's the way it should have been handled.
Yes. That's the way it should have been handled. But
everybody should have done that, to be honest. All of them.
No, yeah, every single one of them. Well, except for Vivek, because he was basically filleting Trump the whole time anyway. But...
Yeah, but now that he's gotten out, he's gotten actually really cool on Twitter. Some of his tweets just crack me up. I don't know why, but I'm like, this guy's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna tweet whatever.
I did like his response to the Babylon.
The Babylon Bee.
Yeah, when he was
great.
I prefer Buc-ee's. I was like, what?
Well, he's not wrong.
I mean, everybody would prefer Buc-ee's to 7-Eleven. But the thing about it is, everybody got pissed off about that when it was basically just trying... And the weirdest thing is, it was Babylon Bee using Biden's language to remind everybody that Trump's a racist.
Yes. And of course, everybody went after the Babylon Bee. The right went after the Babylon Bee. And I'm like, this proves to me one thing. You people have the memory of dead goldfish. Because you absolutely missed the entire reference. The reference was not even subtle. It was not subtle. It was like a hammer. And they still missed it.
Well, I mean, honestly, goldfish have a lot better memory than they're given credit for. What it is they have...
Well, that's why I said dead goldfish.
They have the attention span of a gnat. That's the problem. As soon as anybody says anything bad about Trump, they forget about the vaccine. They forget about COVID. They forget about all of it. Don't you attack my savior! Which is basically what I feel like it. I mean, and the thing is, I can't win for losing, because I'm in the middle. Just like, can we just stop yelling at each other long enough to decide who the actual best person is to save us from this nightmare?
No, they can't. They can't.
Well, and that's just it. And this is not including the person that we were just talking about a moment ago, because, like I said, she's got skin in the game, and I wasn't aware of it. But honestly, because I didn't know about it until today, I would see her tweet, and I was honestly concerned. I had considered reaching out a couple of times, because there were just times that she was just like, I will never fucking vote for this guy again. I don't care what the fuck he does. I don't care what the fuck he says. I was like, dude, you were like yelling at me because I didn't want to vote for him in 2015. the hell? And then because I didn't know, because the whole time she was going through her stuff was when I was, going through my stuff, and that's why I told her. I said, I felt like I owe you an apology because I felt like I should have told this story a long time ago. But I said, COVID nearly destroyed my life in a completely different way. But at the same time, if you're comfortable with it, since you've now, put it out publicly, I would really like to tell your story. But I already know the two main places I write for are going to say no. And she was like, I don't care. And I said, well, I didn't want to do it without your permission. And I said, if the write-up goes okay and you approve of the write-up, would you be comfortable with coming on and doing some shows with anybody in the network that wants you? And then maybe if you're interested, I can reach out to some people that I know that are at least in local radio. I don't really have any national contacts anymore. She says, anything that we can do to highlight the mess that the government was and the mess that we were in with COVID that nobody wants to talk about, she says, I'm down. So, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take, because she told me she would email everything when she got her thoughts together and her research collected. And I told her, I said, it's your story. I don't have deadlines. Just make sure you tell me when you've sent it so I can find it, because sometimes stuff gets lost in that box.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it just goes back to what I've been saying now for basically the last 2 weeks. I'm not mad at Trump. To a point. I'm not. I just want him to be held accountable. If this was a Democrat, every Republican would be screaming, let's say for the sake of argument the roles were reversed, and it was Biden that was in office at the beginning of COVID, and he did all the things, and then Trump won the nomination, got elected, and Biden was the one that, all the news was coming out about the issues with the vaccine, etc. Every Republican would be screaming, what did Biden know and when did he know it?
True. And, and you bring up an important point. You said that, if you were a Democrat, the thing is, we're actually choosing between a Democrat and Democrat light. Uh-huh. We're not choosing with a Republican if Trump is the nominee. And the reason I say that is I have a lot of experience with Puerto Rico politics. In Puerto Rico, we have two, it's also a two-party system there, and you have Las Palmas, and then you have Los, whatever. And one is what we would call the Democrats there. Those are the ones that are the red. Believe it or not, they kept the red. And the conservatives there are under the blue flag. But they're not conservative. It's just a different brand of Democrat. And this is what we have with Trump. And what I'm looking, and it is the exact same thing that happened back in I think it was like the mid-70s through the mid-80s. There were two candidates for governor there. One was a Democrat, one was a Republican, but not really. And one would win, and then the next time around, the other one would win. And then the next time around, the other one would win. It was going back and forth. This happened for about, I kid you not, there were five different elections where this happened back and forth until people got tired of it. And my dad was talking to my uncle one night. My uncle is actually part of the Green Party. He wants an independent state. And he was fed up with it. And he was like, and my dad's like, but this is the way that it has always been. And my uncle's like, why do you say that? I said, because this is not the first time that it happened. It has happened so often that people were so used to it. But now people were like, well, wait a minute. There's got to be somebody else. These people are getting too old.
It's kind of like that old line from Battlestar Galactica. This has all happened before and it will happen again.
Yes, and it does. And this is, I'm watching this, and I'm watching this as, from three different points of view. And one of my points of view is from the point of view of somebody who has seen it happen in Puerto Rican politics, and I'm looking at it going, history repeats itself all the time. But I mean, the fates are having a ball weaving this shit together, because they're they're like looking at all the knots in what they're weaving and saying, fuck it, I'm leaving it. This is what we have, a bunch of knots. And I was talking to my cousin. She lives in Wisconsin now, and she loves the winter. And I'm like, your gene thing must have been really wrong when you were born, because nobody from Puerto Rico says that. But she's a Trump supporter as well, and she is completely freaked out about the fact that when she voted for him in 2016 and in 2020, she's now looking at it going, I can't vote for him this time around. This is not the same guy. And this is how we were talking about it. We started talking about the whole Puerto Rico politics with Manolo Barceló and the other guy and all that stuff. And she's like, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on. It's just like that. And she's a couple of years older than I am, but she remembers too. And I said, we're stuck. That we are literally stuck right now because the infighting on the conservative side has gotten so out of hand that they have forgotten that they're not supposed to be fighting each other. It's supposed to be fighting the guy that's currently residing in the White House. And I kept trying to tell this to everybody. Nobody listened. Everybody was picking sides. Everybody was saying, no, if you're not for Trump, then you're a traitor. And if you're not for DeSantis, then you're just stupid. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to vote for Tugboat Phil. I'm going to write his name in, and I'll be happy. Because I'm at that point.
If I could get away with write-ins in Oklahoma, which I can't, I would just write your name in. I'm just saying.
I know. I don't ever want to be in politics.
But
politics suck.
Let's try to put this in a way that everybody can understand. At this point, no matter who wins the nomination, because it looks like it's going to go. I mean, honestly, everybody's already assuming it's a foregone conclusion. I'm not sure because weather was a factor, but it wasn't a huge turnout anyway because there's like 3 million people there, 2 million registered voters. He got 50,000 votes. Everybody's having a cow about that, but I'm like, well, then again, there was like cold and snow and everything else, so I guess kind of depends on how you look at it. But if you're wondering why nothing's getting done, it's because you currently have two choices: the Dempublicans and the Republicans.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Thank you.
So, but yeah, it's just it's just nuts. I mean, speaking of nuts, our next couple of stories are nuts.
Going back to the actual topics.
Going back to the actual topics that do not involve my ADH squirrel brain going, oh look, nut. Just saying. But yeah, no. So you hit me with one, and then I actually found a couple others. One of which I'd already talked about today. But then there's another one that I sent over that I forgot to make sure that I had access to from this computer. But yeah, the mommy daughter strip exercises.
Yes.
Are people on crack? I mean, if this was an option for let's say it's that back before I was round, and my dad was in decent shape and I was in decent shape, and he looked at me and said, "Hey son, I've signed us up for Chippendale dancing lessons." You've done what? You want us to do what? No. I mean, look, I get it. Pole dancing is being pushed now as some sort of crazy hip exercise thing. Like belly dancing was a thing for a while ago, and I have to admit I had a crush on a belly dancer in elementary school because holy crap, that was amazing even at like 5th grade. I'm just saying. But pole dancing is one thing if it's like the gaggle of the chicks that you go to the bathroom with would be one thing. I could see them saying, "Hey, let's go. We could put this to use someday, maybe." But if I were a daughter, the last person I would be going and doing anything, and granted, they don't take anything off or anything. I understand that. But the last person, if I was a child of someone and female child of someone at that, my mom would not be who I would want to take those classes with. Especially because what I saw, it was like moms and little kids. I'm like, what the heck? Why would you even want to teach your child that? I mean, what are you? Have you already decided that she self-identifies as a stripper and she wants to change her name to Cinnamon? Is that what this class is about?
I get that pole dancing is considered a very cardiac exercise in itself. It is now recognized, believe it or not, as an international sport. And it is up for consideration to be included in the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
Oh, my God.
I cannot stress to you...
Stop the world. I want to get off.
Yes. exactly. It does take a lot of effort to actually do that kind of workout. Yes, I give you that.
Well, I
The
mean,
problem that everybody has with this is that children are involved. And, and it's funny because the woman that started the workshop, was saying, where, they want to break stigmas. They want to, raise the bar and, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And she's saying that it's the best type of mommy and me, blah, blah, blah. But that's where the language comes in. And you guys know that I'm a nut job when it comes to language.
you could
Mommy
you could have left the
and
when it comes
me.
to language part off. We still would have got you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just kidding.
The fact that they use mommy and me implies that this is the child's idea. The child has come up with this time together. It's not. That's not the way it is. And every time that you try to do that whole mommy and me, it's usually something that isn't, at first we're like, so you're basically making her to a little girl, the whole mani-pedi thing. Painting the nails when I was growing up was not something that we were allowed to do. We had to wait until we were 16 in order to paint our nails. My dad had a hard and fast rule about makeup. Nails, painting nails, that was makeup. So, we had to wait until we were of that age range in order to do that. And so, but, admittedly, that's a little more conservative than most people in my age range. But even then, I don't remember any moms of any of the kids that I babysat painting their children's toenails or going to have mani-pedis, And yeah, we did have manicurists, back then. And, there were such things as pedicures and everything. It was more ritzy places, but you still had them. But that was not something that was done. And then it became, as manicurists and pedicurists became more and more available to, the working, pros like us, you started going with your daughter. But it was usually your daughter was between the ages of 10 and 15. And then they started getting younger and younger and younger. And, when you went to have mommy and me, spa time, it wasn't anything weird. It was like you had your facial done, and then you had like the sauna where you that kind of thing, and then you went swimming or had some, and then you had your little salad and fruity drink, and then you had your hairstyle and you went home, that kind of thing. What they're doing now is another avenue to hypersexualize children. And even by her admission, the owner of the strip joint, by her admission, she said, girls and boys, she, would, if you want to bring your son, that's fine too. And she is defending this as this is, exercise. This is a time for the moms. They're wearing gym clothes. They're being aided by a gymnast instructor. There's nothing bad about it. Well, okay, fine. If there's a gymnast instructor, why isn't it taking place in a gym? Why is the pole involved? Why are they not on the bars? Why are they not on the pommel horse? Why are they not on the balance beam? Why are they not tumbling? Why does it need a pole? And of course, she's like, well, you guys just do not understand. This is not about strip clubs. You're literally at a strip club when you're taking this class. And there are pictures showing the moms, with, on their, I guess they're on their shoulders. The shoulders are on the floor and everything, and their legs are up on the poles. And the girl is behind her. Her daughter's behind her doing the same thing. And I'm like, that part is not exercise. That's not exercise. Excuse me. That's dancing. That's pole dancing. And so there's a lot of people are coming out saying, okay, this is a line that you guys are starting to like really erase. And I'm like, that erosion started a long time ago. But I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that this is way too much. And frankly, admittedly, I'm a fuddy-duddy. I'm very old-fashioned. I don't like to put, I always hated my sister and her daughters going to get their makeup done. I was like, why are you putting makeup on a 7-year-old? I never understood that. And I get that some moms do that with their daughters, and, that's for them, not for me. Yeah. But doing, getting their hair did, oh yeah, I was all about that. I would take my girls to the salon with me, and we'd all get all updos and all that stuff, and that was fine, But I never understood the whole attraction of putting makeup on, a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old. I've never held with the whole beauty, kid beauty pageants. It's always felt very wrong to me. And, it's something of an issue because I know members of my family who let their daughters start wearing makeup when they were 5. And these girls are, 12 and 13 and think that they're, of drinking age. They think they're adults because they've been doing this, for so long that they think, oh, well, if an adult's doing it and I'm doing it, therefore I'm an adult, that kind of thing. This is it, to me, it has completely, crossed the line. And they're trying to justify this as, what if, this is the next, Mary Lou Retton or, Simone Biles or, whatever. And I'm like, then put her in a fucking gym, not at a pole dancing class.
Well, the irony of them claiming, that, this isn't about stripping. This was actually a video interview, and this was in the background. Just kidding. It probably wasn't a video interview, but I had to work in the thong song because I've been working comments on the ESPN article, and somebody put the song in my head because they were like, "Who doesn't want to see Chris Christie in a thong?" I'm like, me, and thanks to you, I now have Let Me See That Thong in my head, you bastard.
The studio is actually posting videos of these classes for people to see, and in one of the videos, one of the girls has her legs spread around the pole, and I'm like, no.
Could you guys audibly feel that shiver that just happened? Because
I was just like, oh, it's sick. And like I said, every time that you start with that whole mommy and me, I get.
Well, I mean, because that's what it was geared towards, right? Because parents were feeling guilty because they were working all the time, so people started orchestrating these mommy and me things because they were talking to kids and like, we'd like to be able to do things like this. You cannot tell me that your child said, "I want to learn to dance like a stripper." But the irony of this is not the first time that the Olympics has turned something controversial and women-centric into a sporting event, because there's a bunch of people that sweep on ice now. It's called curling.
I mean, I will admit, I'll be the first to admit, I've actually enjoyed going to strip joints. And no, I've never actually seen male strippers. I'm talking about female strippers. Maybe I'm not the best wife out there, but sometimes I would just throw my husband out of the house and I would tell him to go with his friends to a strip joint and have fun.
No.
I mean, I'd actually have to force him to go out of but most of the time when we went, I would go with him because I loved watching people. And those places are just rife with people watching. I mean, it's amazing to me. I was more entertained just watching the people that were watching the women up on stage than anything. For me, it was, there were some times that I would go, I didn't even know that there were women on the stage because I was so entertained by everybody else.
So, So tell us again how you like to go to strip clubs.
Let's have sex.
Just say it.
It was fun for me. And, men go there with the understanding that they're actually purchasing a dream. This is just a little daydream for the guy to have He knows that it's not real, and the women are just selling it. They know it's not real, and there's always that line, you cannot cross.
Listen,
But you walk in there with
you.
that understanding.
Listen, you. Sparkles loves me, damn it. Oh, just kidding.
I remember this young woman who I actually asked her to do a lap dance for my husband, and she was when she went, she performed the lap dance and everything, and stuff, and afterwards she said that we were so nice, she told him that I was so nice to have done that for him. And he told her, it's like, oh, she does this all the time. and she was like, really? It's like, yeah, she's, this is, she likes coming because she gets to watch other people, have fun and everything. And she's like, oh, that's funny. And so she went and performed again. And then she came on her break. She came and what?
Phrasing. Next time, say she likes to go with me. Not she likes coming. Just phrasing.
So anyway, so during her break, she asked if she could sit with us. And there's this young woman in, completely topless, sitting with us.
Nice.
And I asked her, I was very curious. And I asked her, so I need to know, are you married? Because I noticed that she had a suntan ring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I've been married. I've been married for 12 years. We have 3 kids. He's in construction, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
ooh,
that
is a very secure
and she
man.
Said, well, let me tell you, it's very delicate. I only work certain hours here. And until we get a certain amount of money put away so that we can buy our own house, I'll be working. But after that, I'm leaving it. But, this is, my husband is well aware of what I do and all that stuff. The kids do not know. And this is why. I mean, have you seen the mortgage rates? And then we were off. We were talking about the mortgage rates. We were talking about bills. We were talking about the loan that she has to pay back for some reason. She said she had to get her car, fixed and all that stuff. And it was, you were talking to a real person,
well,
and sometimes when you walk into a strip joint, you see these beautiful women up on stage, and dancing for you and trying to, incentivize you and whatever. But you forget that these are real people, that kind of thing. And last I checked, this was when I still lived in San Antonio before moving 2 or 3, I think this was back in 2000. When I got back, since I knew her name, I looked her up, and they had bought a house. They had
nice.
A 4th child. She was now a secretary, so it was like, and this is not the only stripper that I knew. One of my girlfriends actually paid for her law school as a stripper. And I was like, how do you deal with the fact that maybe some of the men that you are entertaining right now might be your future clients? She's like, even better, they already know me. And I'm like, okay, as long as you can actually move forward past that, then, that's great. Because I always think, do these women see past a certain point in their life? And a lot of them do. A lot of them know that this is a temporary thing. Some of them do not. Some of them make it permanent. And unfortunately, bodies age and people's tastes change. And so, they have a harder time coping with reality. But, I had fun going to these places. I never had a hell time. I went with all of my husband's coworkers. We all went. And they thought we were having like a birthday party when we arrived because there were so many of us with their wives. It was great.
Nice.
But going back to the whole stripping thing, that is an adult thing. That is not a mommy and me thing. You should not be teaching kids about pole dancing because it's an adult thing and there are adult issues associated with it. No matter that, they're making it into an international sport and it may show up in the Olympics.
All I know is if it shows up in the Olympics, the male viewership's probably going to go up. But the one thing I will say is, at least when you were talking with the stripper, you were talking about Bills and not Johns. That would have gotten awkward. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. I will say quickly that was I think the last time that I went was 2008 to a strip joint. That's the time that we went with all the wives and everything, and everybody went together, and it was a lot of fun. But it's just after a while you're like, another naked chick, whatever.
Danielle, damn it! I'm going to tell you the same thing that I just told Aggie. Sparkles loves me, damn it! Quit playing with my emotions. Sparkles loves me. She tells me that every time I hand her the next 20.
Yeah, it's just that really. Is, and GR, as he points out, that is one of the reasons why I decided that was not something that I should be encouraging in my life at all. It was. I will admit, for me, it was the anthropological side of it that I took to heart, learning about the human nature and how people react. And it was funny because, you see all of these movies about, about bad things that happen to strippers or, all this stuff and everything. When you're in one of these places, you can, if you watch people carefully, they observe that line religiously. And I use that word in a different context, obviously, but they're very hard and fast, no pun intended, about observing that line because they know that there is trouble if they don't observe it. And it's not just trouble in their personal life, but also trouble in their professional life. I mean, there are consequences. People are very, very aware of these consequences. And thus, so watching all of these men, and there were women there too, but watching them, you could tell that there was a certain line that they observed. They were very, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate this. Very aware that there was behavior had to come first. And so it was an interesting study whenever I went in there, and like I said, I was more entertained by watching people and their reactions than anything else. And I learned a lot about human nature in places like that, both good and bad. So, of course, I couldn't write a dissertation about that. Nobody would take it seriously.
Oh, well, I mean, you probably could now. They'd probably let you do it now. I mean, they'll let you write dissertations on almost everything now. Hell, you can steal half of somebody's dissertation and become Harvard,
I'd probably be writing a better one than she did. I don't know if anybody wrote some of her papers, but I was just appalled. I was appalled. And let me tell you something. And when Hillary Clinton's papers were finally, released to the public and everything, I went and read them. Those were written well. Regardless that I did not agree with Saul Alinsky and how she was saying how it was a good thing and blah, blah, and all this stuff. They were well written. Her papers were well written. I will say that. I read Michelle Obama's and I was like, holy shit.
You mispronounced Michael. Just saying.
Well, whatever his name is. I read that paper and I was just appalled.
So
I was like, how did you graduate? How?
I have to point this out because it was Michelle Obama's birthday a few days ago. And Barack Obama, when referring to his wife, did not use gender.
What?
In the tweet that he put out wishing her a happy birthday, he said, I want to wish a happy birthday to my better half, who is the sweetest, kindest person I have ever known. Never once did he reference gender.
Really?
I missed writing it up on Twitchy by like 15 minutes because somebody already grabbed it. I was mad. But yeah, I was like, what? Why? Because that just puts fuel into the fire. And that's part of the reason why it got written up. Because he took the picture, the picture that he used in the tweet to show her was from like a million yards away. And she was in this bright yellow dress, and somebody had zoomed into the picture, and it's like, we all know why you didn't use gender. No matter how hard you try it, we still see that it's there, because they zoomed in on the crotch, and it had the bulgy looking thing again. Photoshop? I don't know. But I do find it really weird that when talking about his wife, he did not use gender.
That's very odd. Huh.
Yeah, that you pick up on anthropological cues. I pick up on linguistic cues. I'm like, why did you not call? I mean, didn't even say that she's like the most beautiful woman ever. Just that she's the sweetest, kindest. My better half. Happy birthday to my better half, who was the sweetest, kindest person that I've ever known. That is just
wow.
That just something about that was just like that does not compute. And this one's actually not even in our notes, but we have to talk about this, and I wish I had the link to send to you. But Waters, who took Tucker's place on Fox, had a field day last night because he found a video of someone who has declared herself an android presenting as binary, that she's not actually from this world, that she's spawned into a human body, and she can't emote emotions properly and she has no way to actually feel them because she's an android. If you guys haven't figured out by now that this shit is a mental illness, I can't draw you in any plane of a map. Just saying. I can't. But the reason I wanted to do that little quick hit is because it dovetails into our next story. So hang on just a second. This is from News 9 in Oklahoma today. There has been a statewide mandate outlining the following. Listen along.
It's been dubbed anti-furry legislation, and a bill has just been filed here in Oklahoma. Representative Justin Humphrey filed this bill that states that if a student dresses up and pretends to be a furry, an animal, in the classroom, then they will be banned from any classroom curriculum and any after-school activities. If that happens, their parent would be called to come and get them, and if the parent doesn't show up, animal control would be called. It's been dubbed anti-furry legislation.
I keep forgetting it repeats. So I talked about this today. I still wanted to talk about it with you because, one, I needed to hear that laugh because I knew it was going to happen. Two, I just have to say this. I have to say this again. The fact that they wrote the bill to fully embrace the child's delusion of if you as a parent are going to let your child come to school believing they are an animal, we don't allow animals in the building, so we're going to call you to come get them, and if you don't come get them, since they are insisting they're an animal, we're going to call animal control. It's exactly what they want. But not in the way they thought they wanted it, because they thought they were going to get to be cute. And I've seen all the stories on the West Coast about how they've got litter boxes in the fucking bathrooms now, and you have to don't mind them if they eat cat kibble and dog food because they're furries. And I'm like, Phew. But yeah, the idea, and again, I guess even I missed it this morning when I was going over the audio. It's been filed, so it hasn't actually passed yet. God, please let this pass, because that would be such an amazing thing. All the news stories, like it'll be News Channel 4 in your corner. There'll be parents calling News Channel 4 and be like, my kid can't go to school anymore because the school's acknowledging the fact that they're a furry and animals aren't allowed in the school building, so every time I try to send them to school, they call animal control. I don't know what to do. Maybe grow the fuck up and teach your child that they're fucking insane. That would be a good start. And if this passes, there's going to be blowback. I would pretty. I mean, if it's state law, I don't know how animal control can say no if it actually becomes a state law. I thought it was like a school district mandate, but I guess it's actually being proposed as a bill. So if this is passed and signed into law, that means animal control will be mandated to come deal with these people if it comes to that. Which means parents are probably going to be getting bills. I don't know if it's like it was when my kids were little, because my oldest son was an asshole, and he would get on the bus and then walk off the school grounds, and nobody told us. He had skipped like a month of school before we finally got notified. And then we had to go to court. And we're like, wait a minute. He's in your care for that time frame. You didn't notify us. He never even called us and said, hey, he's been reported absent for 2 periods for the last month or whatever. He never showed up. We never called. Then eventually they turned us in for truancy. And it was this big old long drawn out thing. And even then, my now ex-wife was like, no, I want him to learn his lesson, so we're going to make him go to court. It wasn't about him learning a lesson. They just wanted their money.
Yeah.
They
it wasn't about lessons. It was about money.
They charged her, which was me, by the way, by the time it was all said and done, $550 for truancy that had to be paid within 6 months, or she was going to jail. Not him, she. He's 16 years old, skipping school. School's not notifying us, and we have to pay a bill because the school didn't notify us. And even we thought that was stupid. But I can. So that's why I'm saying, if this passes, if any parents are listening in Oklahoma, you need to make sure that your kids aren't stopping at Sheila's house or whatever and changing into furry clothes before they walk to school or whatever, because there's a good chance that they may wind up just kicking them off school property, and you may never even know because they don't always call you. But again, at the same time, I applaud the person that wrote this bill because it's exactly what they've said they've wanted. We want people to recognize us for what we say we are. Fine, then if you come into the school building and your parents aren't willing to come get you, we're going to call animal control because animals aren't allowed in the building. I think I would have, if I was the lawmaker, made one exception to the law that there could be one show and tell day designated per month, and at that time the child would be allowed to come in person if they chose, because then animals are actually allowed in the schools. Because just saying. But that's just me being a smartass.
It is. This social contagion has grown past any expectation. I think the last major social contagion that we had was bulimia. And that one was several decades ago. But this one, the one about, transgenderism and gender identification has blossomed to include, identifying as animals and as things and not even people and, objects. And it's incredible to me because there is such a thirst to be original. And all of these kids are no longer taught that they're individuals. It's always about the collective. It's always about the collective now. It takes a village, that kind of thing. Children are not being taught that they are individuals. And as a result, they're not being taught that they are responsible for their own actions. They are taught that it's a collective, that we do everything for the betterment of everyone in the class. That we need to share everything equally for those that don't have any. How you get a list of everything, all of the school supplies that you have to bring in. And sometimes it's like 4 packages of, it fluctuates depending on the grade. 4 to 8 packages of tissue boxes. And they tell you which size, so it can't be just the little square ones. It has to be the big jumbo ones. Yeah. And I'm like, my kid brings 4. There's 25 kids in the class. So you have 100. Where the hell are you putting these things?
My favorite was when they started putting computer paper on the list.
Yeah.
For like 3rd and 4th graders that use the computer once a week.
And I'm like, no, why can't I just provide tissues for my kid that he keeps in his backpack or her backpack, whatever? No, this is for all of the kids to use. I took issue with that. And I actually looked at the teacher and I said, those are not my children. They're not my responsibility. My responsibility is this kid right here. And she had absolutely no answer to what I said. And at the end of the school year, if there are any school supplies left over, guess what? You don't get to bring them home.
Nope.
Because they're all conglomerated into one big pile.
Yep.
So everybody can share. And this is, kids are no longer taught about individualism. And this is part of why this contagion has taken off so big. Because they want to be different. They want to stand out. And I'm like, I'm sorry. The school has made you all wear gray, eat the same thing, and you're all named Chet now. Okay? And I don't think anybody knows that reference. It's from Fairly Odd Parents.
But no, actually, I got it. That's what
Did you get it?
I was trying to laugh and I coughed instead because my allergies are kicking my ass. But yeah, I was like, oh my god, she brought up Fairly Odd Parents.
It's a very obscure episode, but it was probably the best episode they ever made.
Dude, am I the only parent alive that secretly loved that cartoon show? Anytime my kids wanted to watch it, I watched it with them.
I love that show. It was great.
My ex-wife used to look at me like I was crazy because anytime they had SpongeBob on, I would sit down and watch it. Anytime they had Fairly Odd Parents on, I would sit down and watch it. Hell, at one point, I even started watching Powerpuff Girls with Jesse.
Oh, I love Powerpuff Girls
because of Mojo Jojo. And I haven't done his impression in a while, but that was back when I was doing private security work, and when people would get ornery with me, I would be like, "You will do these things that I have told you to do because I have told you to do them because I am Mojo Jojo." And they were drunk, and they would just start laughing their asses off.
I used to do the three girls, one in a row. It's like, how do they always get it wrong? It's Powerpuff.
Hey, that was pretty good. Good job. Good job. Yeah, it was.
Buttercup was my favorite.
Yeah,
because she was mad all the time.
It was funny. The other day, Loftus and I were texting back and forth, and I told him that about being able to do a Cartman impression, and you didn't believe me. I said I was kind of mad because that's really about the only impression I could do was Cartman that was any good anymore. He's like, "No fucking way you can do Cartman. That one's hard." So I sent him a voice recording of it. He's like, "God damn, that is spot on." Like, but yeah, I don't know that and Mojo Jojo. But yeah, that one was mainly because everybody at the time was like, "You're the boss out here."
I love that show.
You're the boss out here, and you just have a power trip, and that's when I just started doing the Mojo Jojo impersonation. You wanna know about a power trip? I'll show you a power trip, motherfucker. I am Mojo Jojo.
I think my favorite episode was when Mojo Jojo realized that the reason the Powerpuff Girls existed was his fault.
Kind of like me coming to the realization that the real reason the country's falling apart was because of Republicans. I was like,
yeah, it was us. It was us.
Like we did the thing. We may have planned on things going differently, but we did the thing. And the part that I didn't finish earlier, because there's one more piece to this. So decoupled from gold, that was a Republican. The final nail in the coffin, when all of your freedoms basically went up in smoke and you didn't realize it because they wrapped it in a flag and made it smell like apple pie, was the Patriot Act. Who signed?
Yes,
who signed that?
Mm-hmm. Under the guise of, we need to protect our country. And sure, here, take all our freedoms. That's okay.
Because the J6 video surveillance, the J6 sentencing, all of that shit
came from
all of that's because they've labeled them as terrorists and they are separate from the judicial system because of the Patriot Act. The only thing they can't do is send them to Guantanamo. Everything else, well, that and waterboard them. Everything else they could do. By
the way, some of these, I wish they would send them to Guantanamo Bay because they would have gotten treated better than what they're being treated right now. I was
going to say the worst thing is going to Guantanamo probably would have been better for them. But yeah, but it just all goes back into the same thing, and it's because, this whole the Republicans passing turning it over to the states and the states passing the tax thing, when they realized that they screwed up, that's why they've over the years made this thing like 5,000 pages because everybody that's was not happy about money being stolen from them has basically written cheat codes into the tax code where if you know how to use them, you get all your money back. But the only people that know how to use them are the rich people that can afford to hire the people that know all the tricks to get their money back. So the same people that didn't want the taxes to be collected in the first place are still getting the government benefits from the taxes, but they get all their money back from the government at the end of the year. So it's become this basic money laundering scheme. Because before we had a tax code, which is the other thing that pisses me off, because you listen to every libertarian, well, taxation is unconstitutional. It was until 1913. When it became a constitutional amendment, that overrode every other piece of language in the Constitution that said they couldn't do that, because the states amended the Constitution to say that they could. So yes, taxation is theft. No, you cannot legally not pay your taxes because it's now in the Constitution. Which pisses me off, because when I first started doing this, I even heard fucking Rush Limbaugh say that we shouldn't have to pay taxes because it has a sunset clause and they vote on it every year. No, that was when they did it during the Civil War. This one doesn't have a sunset. This one was constitutionally put in there. But then they created this tax code nightmare that we all have to deal with, which has created a class of people that were already fairly wealthy, that are now uber wealthy, that get money back from the government every year for everything that they spend it on, and they put it into a trust, and then tie that trust to a life insurance policy that they can pull tax-free money off of because debt is tax-free. And then, while they're supposed to pay that back at 4%, the money's behaving as if it was still in there, and they're actually making 8% off of the money that they have in their pockets. So they're not only not having to pay back the 4%, they're still making 4% off of it. Mm-hmm. It's just this giant foobar mess, and the simple fact of the matter is, from the social contagion stuff that we've talked about today to everything else that's going on in the news, it all boils down to one thing. At one point, the bureaucracy in America passed a tipping point, because if you show me who you can't fire, I will show you who's in charge. The bureaucracy runs America. It's kind of like if you're in the military or know anybody in the military, you're probably familiar with the phrase E4 Mafia. That is the highest enlisted rank that you can hold before you start transitioning into the officers. And they are the ones that basically run the military. They are also the ones that are really, really good at finding ways to make the people below them do everything while they go hide in the closet. And the people that are above them are okay with it, because if they try to come down on them too hard, they're not going to be able to get anything done. That's the same thing that's happening in the bureaucracy level. That's why it doesn't matter who's in charge anymore. Nothing changes. Donald Trump told us he was going to clean the swamp. He didn't. He couldn't. Because you can't undo a bureaucracy that it took over 100 years to create in 4 years. You can't undo the mental disorders that we're now making fun of by passing laws that say, hey, if you're stupid enough to send your kid to school in a furry costume, we're going to make animal control come get them if you ignore us. This is a symptom of the same problem. People have completely disconnected from reality. They're not paying attention to anything anymore, and the only thing they care about is, I want what I want when I want it. You better be able to give it to me now. And they don't even care enough anymore. And it's frustrating everywhere, because those of us that are still, trying to keep a level head about it all. I mean, just to tell you, the social contagion thing that you were talking about, just to tell you exactly how bad it's gotten, you now have people that have a quasi-understanding of science that are using the fact that certain species of fish can spontaneously change gender to explain why we are now having people that say they are female even though they're male, and male even though they're female. We ain't fish, yo. I'm just saying. We ain't fish.
They think we are.
So long and no thanks, I don't want your fish. But speaking of, if you remember Finding Nemo, the fact that clownfish are one of the species that will do that puts an entirely different spin on why Dad was so eager to find Nemo. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Childhood ruined. You're welcome.
Yep. Yeah, you ruined it for everybody. Thanks a lot, Rick.
I do that a lot. It's my gift.
You did too.
It's my gift. I do it a lot.
Yeah, it's not a curse. It's a gift.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like Monk used to say, it's both a gift and a curse. The funny thing is, in the latest movie, he says, I used to say this, that having a memory like I have is both a gift and a curse. Now I'm pretty much just starting to think it's a curse. Speaking of which, I didn't know you didn't have Peacock. I need to send you my password so you can watch that.
Oh, no, I believe it or not, I was not going to watch that game regardless.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about the game. I know you like Monk, and he's got a movie on there.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to be visiting my daughter soon, and she's got it, so I'm good. I just think that was just so ridiculous. I'm still trying to figure out why it was that they decided to do this. And the only reason I can think of is Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah, they were trying to reach more of her demographic, because her demographic is completely unplugged. But I have a more sinister theory. Broadcast TV's dying.
Well, no, this is true. There's so many streaming services for that reason.
Well, and the weirdest thing is, if you'll notice, it's getting to the point now where all the streaming services, for the most part, have access to a lot of the other streaming services. Like Hulu owns Disney and owns all those, so you can get to those. Well, I pulled up my Hulu account the other day, and it was like, would you like to add Paramount Plus through Hulu? And I'm like, no, I already have Paramount Plus. What the hell? So Paramount Plus now has access to Showtime. Prime has access to pretty much every kind of network you can ever find. Hulu has most of the access to a lot of the streaming services now. Peacock has access to a lot of the streaming services now. So what we have now is a race to see how much people will pay to get all the content they want to watch in one place. They're basically recreating cable in a streaming platform, which is technically, especially if you already have fiber optic, the only thing they did was you don't have a box anymore. They just send it to you over the internet. But yeah, it's like they've reinvented the wheel, and now they're trying to see how much they can get away with charging you for it.
I guess so. But I'm like, yeah, you can keep it.
But that was one of the weirdest things that, like, even with like cable and satellite TV, when it first became a thing, for the longest time they wouldn't even, like, satellite couldn't even offer local channels. And then when they got to the point where they could offer the local channels, you had the option of either, if you didn't already have an over-the-air antenna, which half the time if you had satellite TV, even if you had an over-the-air antenna, one of the reasons why you wanted satellite TV is because the channels came in like shit. Then they went to these fucking digital antennas, which have like a 5-mile range, so you're lucky if you could see anything. So then when they figured that out, they're like, oh, we can give you locals. If you want to pay an extra $10 a month, we'll give you your locals. So you're going to charge me to pick up signals that were free until I put your dish on. And they're like, well, they charge us to be able to send them to you, so yes, we have to charge you. I'm like, you guys are just figuring out ways to make money hand over fist. I said this the other night with Orty. I keep being reminded of that stupid Robin Williams, Shelley Duvall live-action Popeye movie that we all watched as kids, and we all laughed our asses off with the dude with the list of all the different fees and everything that nobody was paying, and we're all laughing going, there's no fucking way that's ever going to happen. And and now you can't go anywhere without having a screen turned your direction to tip, even if it was like a takeout order. You've got your barista who's like, well, I have a humanities degree. It would be nice if I could get a tip once in a while. I'm like, so is that degree a prerequisite to work here? Is that why you had to get the degree? Why did I literally did. I mean, the last, and this was a long time ago. I haven't been into Starbucks in forever, but. So this was before the whole screen thing, but Starbucks was one of those places where it was always on the receipt. Do you want a tip? Even before they started doing the screen thing. So I swiped my card. They handed me the receipt. I signed for it. They watched me put the 0 in the tip line, and then they just looked at me. They're like, you don't have a college degree, right? And I'm like, then what the fuck are you doing here? It's a humanities degree. What was your plan?
Yeah.
What was your plan? But this is the other reason why, and again, this goes into that social contagion groupthink bullshit that we've been talking about all night. Our generation was the first one that basically started being told, don't go into the trades, don't do this, don't do that, you don't want that, that's hard work, go to college, get a degree, become a lawyer, do this, do that. look, even, and one of the reasons why I never did it, I could have at the time, but they've changed it, because my boss had reached out to me the other day, my former boss, and was trying to get me to come back to work, and I'm like, I can't. I only have a 2-year degree. You guys have now locked out management to have a 4-year degree. It's now required. It used to say 4 years or commensurate experience. Now it just says 4 years. So they were really trying to convince me to come back because they're opening a new place, and I'm like, I can't. Well, they're like, for you, we could probably get a waiver. I was like, and the more I thought about it, I was like, no.
I'm good.
I'm good. But yeah, I've already been through all that. But part of that is because they started telling everybody to go to college. Then college started getting more expensive because supply and demand. And then the government tried to step in to make college less expensive. And then the college said, ooh, well, if you're going to pay half the bill, we're going to start making them take
Increasing the bill.
We're going to start increasing the prices, and we're going to start increasing the requirements for them to come to us, which nobody meets anymore anyway when they graduate from from senior year, most of the time, because anymore we're lucky if by 12th grade most people can read at the 8th grade level. That's if we're lucky. So they go in to do the college placement testing, and they're like, oh, you need remedial this, you need remedial that. It'll take you 6 years to get your 4-year degree. Oh, gee, thanks. And then it becomes this thing, right? And it happens in academia, it happens in schools, and it happens in a lot of places where when you go try to get into like a management position or something, you have to have a 4-year degree. They don't even give a shit what the 4-year degree is in. They don't. You could technically have a 4-year degree in underwater basket weaving and get a job in management because, and the funny thing is, Sylvester Stallone's character says this in Tulsa King, and I'd never heard anybody put it so succinctly, because he's talking to the kid that becomes his driver, because his dad's throwing a fit because his dad wants him to go to school. Well, dude gets a job driving for a mobster and then starts seeing all the bling and is like, never mind, I'm going to do this instead. So dad is pissed. So Sylvester Stallone goes into this long monologue. Let me explain to you why college is important. It proves to your employers that you can show up on time, that you can meet deadlines, and you can do the things that you're told to do. That's why college is important. And the kid's like, well, I already do that stuff with you. And he's like, exactly, so don't fucking worry about it. And, it just keeps going from there. But the thing about it is when the degree became required, but they didn't care what the degree was, then there was an influx of everybody with college degrees, and people with underwater basket weaving degrees were trying to get jobs in marketing and this, that, and the other, so the people that actually were taking the classes for the actual thing they were trying to get a career in that takes longer, by the time they got out of college, the underwater basket weaving dude took the job, and they didn't have one anymore. So they're working at Starbucks trying to, I spent $70,000 of my own money, plus government money that I have to pay back to get this degree, and I'm slinging fucking coffee. Well, maybe you should have went to a trade school first, so you could work your way through college. That's the other thing. We are, the reason they are pushing to mechanize everything, and the reason that they are pushing for AI to do things and everything else, is because Americans have jobs they refuse to do now. I've never seen that in this country in my life. We used to be the people that when something needed to be done, we would roll up our sleeves and get it done. Now it's like, let somebody else do it. Or can't we build a robot that does that? I don't want to have to touch that. I'm like, what is the matter with us? What is the matter with us that the people that were rebels now trust the government? I'm going to tell you this right now. If you trust the government, you and I can't be friends anymore, because these people are trying to kill you. If you don't believe me, the Food and Drug Administration is the paramount decider as to what is allowed to go into your body, that is allowed to go into grocery stores, that you are allowed to consume. Everything on those shelves, save about 5 or 6 items, is going to kill you eventually. Because bread is not bread anymore. It's bread with a bunch of additives that keep bread fresher longer, so it doesn't have to be replaced every 2 or 3 days. Because bread, when it was actual bread, you couldn't keep it on a shelf for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because it would start molding, because it didn't have the additives. this is the scary part. This is something else that I've started looking into. Yeah, we always joke about how, in the 60s and the 70s, everybody looked a lot older than they do now. And it's because we take better care of ourselves. No, it's because we're feeding ourselves fucking preservatives.
This is true.
That's why. And at the same time, we look better, but we feel worse. There is an epidemic of things like rheumatoid arthritis. There's an epidemic of all these things that are systemically tied to your health and the things that you put into your body. And the scariest thing is, the insurance companies know it, the doctors know it, they don't give a shit. Because all they want to do is keep you having to come back for medication. They will give, and that's why they now, all the over-the-counter shit, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I have. And what started me down this rabbit hole was I got pissed off. Because when I started talking for a living nonstop and then doing this too, I was constantly getting bronchitis. And I would go to the doctor and they would give me antibiotics and they would do this and they would do that. And it was getting to the point where it was constant. And I would just finally go in and I said, we've got to figure something out because this is constant. And they're like, well, you're already taking the over the counter stuff, and you said you don't you don't want to keep taking these antibiotics. I'm like, because it's not fucking doing anything. I was like, eventually you're going to teach my body to be immune to them, and then I'm going to die from something else. But the thing about it is they've because of, and it started primarily as to keep people from cooking meth. The ingredients that actually work, that actually will eventually kill whatever is causing your sinuses, infections, etc. You can't get them anymore. And if you can only get them in limited quantities. The stuff that they sell over the counter will fight the symptoms for as long as it is in your system. And then they come right back. Which is why when you go, even though it's, this is experience for me. Because the thing specifically says, and I went through this a month ago with my primary physician. It says, if you have to take this for longer than 7 days, please see or contact your physician. So, I'm like, dude, I have been taking, you're the one that keeps telling me to do it. I said, it says if I have to take this for longer than 7 days, I'm supposed to talk to you. She's like, well, the options are we can either give you some more expensive stuff, or you can just keep taking what you're taking. And I finally just looked at her and said, how about we do this? How about I just stop taking it, and then we'll see if I live or die. And until today, I've actually, once that stuff got out of my system, and it was like my sinuses were starting to work on their own again, and my lungs were starting to work on their own again. I was like, I actually feel better than I have in a long time. But it's because everything they do is it's not a preventative, really, for the most part. Unless it's a procedure where they can bill you out the ass. I only said that because I thought I saw Ordy in the chat a minute ago. I could have been wrong. Because he recently had a colonoscopy. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Just saying. But yeah. So I mean, it's just stupid. And the scariest thing is, as much as I never thought I would agree with anything that I ever heard, I think it was honestly John. I think it was Jon Stewart. And he was talking about the fact how it's so stupid that we have this tax system, that we pay all this money into our government to then also have to pay for insurance to get medications and to be seen by doctors because we can't afford it otherwise with the way the system's set up, which is honestly not true. Part of the reason the insurance company is as diabolical as it is that's why you're not allowed to know the pricing, because everybody, I mean, and I know this from experience, and I've gone into this before, and he's like, and then you're paying in all these taxes that are supposed to supply goods and services, so then you're also paying for insurance that then has a copay that you're also having to pay, and then a deductible that you're also having to pay. And then half the time they don't cover half the stuff that you want, and then all the stuff that you're paying in for that you think your money's supposed to go for, they decide what else it's going to go for, and it ain't none of the shit you want your money to go for. And this, even though you seem to be just now figuring this out, Mr. Stewart, is why taxation was a very terrible idea. And it's why the old system was much better. Before, when we had an income tax, and then they got away from it, and then they came back to it, before they did that, in the short span that they did, when the government had its little pet projects, they had to sell treasury bills to the American public. The American public would buy those bills with promises of a return of a certain amount for giving them their money. And so that was voluntarily the American people saying, hey, you want to build better roads? We're all for that. Let's give you some money. Now it's, hey, you want to build better roads, but you're going to take 30% of my paycheck and then not fix the fucking roads. I mean, if you need any more proof that we work for them and not the other way around again, you work for 4 months out of the year just to pay them what you have to pay them. Just to be able to, if you're lucky, keep 8 months worth of your salary that mostly goes on your day-to-day expenses. And if you're living the American dream, you might occasionally get to go on a vacation. And then if you're lucky, you may get to retire within 2 years of you actually dying. But sure, America's a free country. You're just chained to a desk, working 40 hours a week, subsisting, because they have legally made it possible to pay you the bare minimum by making you feel more valued by establishing a minimum wage, because everybody knows without that minimum wage, the corporate slave masters would only be paying you 25 cents an hour, which is bullshit, because all you did was tell the corporate slave masters, you have to pay them this, and we really can't do anything to you if you don't pay them any more than that. That's what started this mess. That's what started all of this. And again, I hate to use this guy as an example. I really, really do. But even Andrew Tate can be right a couple of times a year. He basically was pointing out the difference between slavery and where we are now. And he said, let me put it to you like this. So what if somebody came to me and said, hey, Andrew, we want to give you some slaves so you can get all your shit done, but you have to take care of their medical care. You have to house them. You have to feed them. You have to make sure that you're healthy. Or you can pay them just enough so that they have to pay for their medical care. They have to pay for their housing. They have to pay for their car. They have to pay for their clothes. And occasionally, because the paychecks won't meet, you can even offer them extra hours just so they feel like they have extra money. But they're still beholden to you and us basically forever, because we're going to take a third of what they make every year right off the top, and we get to keep it, and they can't say shit about it. I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it when Andrew Tate's right. Just saying.
All right. So that was a great rant.
I've been ranty this week. I apologize.
I was like, well, you know, it's 8:53 and you took off, and I'm like, okay, it's 9 o'clock, and then you kept going, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. 20 minutes later. just start calling me Quaffable Junior. It's all good. Well, with that, I guess we should say good night then.
Yeah, we actually probably should, because I think I just about did my voice in for the weekend. I've been ranty this week. I can't help it. Anyway, where can folks find you? I
was going to say you should go first.
Fine. Just don't find me. You can find me on social media at RowdyRick73. You can find me on Twitchy, The Loftus Party, and here 5 afternoons a week, and I'm and still a few evenings a week, either in front of the microphone or pushing buttons. And I think Reels is moving. I had planned on doing a show this weekend, but I don't know if I'm gonna have a voice, because I tried it yesterday and I was like, dude, I just did 2 hours and it's 2 hour break, and there hasn't really been enough of a news change for me not to just say the same shit that I was ranting about 2 hours ago. So I think America Off the Rails is moving to the weekends. I just haven't figured out which day yet or when it's officially gonna happen. Because I already do 10 hours a week on the weekdays whenever I actually get there, which I guess is going to become a thing, because I've noticed it's helping with my mental state to do the work that I've been doing. Because for the last couple of months, I hadn't really felt like doing anything. It was starting to piss me off. I was like, I felt like I couldn't write anything. I was getting mad because I didn't feel like doing radio again. I was like, you finally got a chance to do everything you said you wanted to do, and now you're not doing it. Get off your ass, fat man. And now here we are. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so, yeah. So since your list is a lot shorter and I already did the abbreviated version of mine, where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me at Aggie Rican and at Aggie the Barkeep over on X. You can also find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday nights, doing the Cocktail Lounge with the ever suave Brad Slaker. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said, She Said.
It's shorter,
with,
it's shorter to say Aggie time. I'm just saying.
Aggie time. Well, not all of them are Aggie time, though. Last Wednesday of every month is 8 p.m.
One is not Aggie time.
Yeah, and we do toxic masculinity then.
Yeah.
And second Monday of every month, Aggie time as well. Jeff and I get together to do Spirited Books, where we review books and we pair our books with a libation that matches. So tune in for that. It has been fun so far. It's been really cool. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being our producer, Rick. I appreciate that. We hope you have a lovely evening tonight.
By the way, if I ever start annoying you with how long I'm talking, just tell me to shut up. I've been married. I can take hints. Just saying.